Hey guys, this video is going to be a little different. Now, I just watched a movie called Snowpiercer, which was directed by Bong Joon-ho, and I wanted to talk about this movie. Well, I wanted to see it because he directed Parasite, and ever since I watched Parasite, I really enjoyed that movie. If you couldn't tell by my review of it, and I really wanted to check out more of his work because he really interested me. And my uncle recommended me Snowpiercer, and I watched it, and little rev- short little review here. Um, I loved it. It's a great film. The writing's really good, and it's surprising because I wasn't expecting the writing to be good, considering that he was a Korean director, and I thought he would do all Korean kind of stuff. But the main language in this film is English, and I thought that was really interesting that it still came out as well as it did. And the performances are all incredible. You have especially Chris Evans, because he doesn't just act with his voice but like his entire body, and he really sells you on that role. And overall, the movie's just incredibly unique. I just love the world building, and the world building is as good as it is because the writing, and it's great. I'd recommend it to really anyone. It's a must watch. But in this video, I wanted to tackle something different because since I'm so interested in his work, I wanted to, since these are like the only two movies I've seen from him, I want to like compare these two, and I want to see how they're differ, and like how they're similar, because I think that would be an interesting topic to cover. So yeah, let's get started. Also, let me get this out of the way. These differences and similarities aren't comparing the two films in like how in determining which one's better or anything like that. I'm just comparing them in like what they do differently from each other. Because personally, to me, it's hard to pick a better movie between these two. They're both, I love them both, and I think they're done incredibly well. So it's hard for me to pick a better one out of the two. You can discuss that in the comments if you want. I would love to hear your opinions. So similarities, I think, I've only watched two of Bong Joon-ho's films, but judging by how it's presented, I think it's gonna be a returning pattern in a lot of his movies. But this one I'm gonna cover is dark turns. So what I mean by this is that in both movies, there's points where the story just goes from 0 to 100 basically, and this is gonna be spoiler territory. So if you don't want to hear that, just skip it. But yeah. For example, in Parasite, the dark turn is basically you start off thinking that this is just gonna be a movie about how a family takes over the jobs and basically takes advantage of this rich family's ignorance. And for the most part, it is that. But then the moment they realize that there's a basement and that there's people living in there, and that's where it really gets messed up. And especially towards the end, they start off when like the guy from the basement starts killing everyone. That's really when it takes an unexpected turn. I wasn't expecting that at all, and I'm pretty sure most people weren't. And so in Snowpiercer, I wouldn't say the dark turn is as bad here, but it's still noticeable. Like again, spoilers. There's a certain scene that like has that like I won't say too much, but there's a certain scene where like all the main characters have gone to like are like halfway through their journey, and they think they're safe, and like the waiters are bringing them food for their journey because they have the leader hostage. But the food is just a way to hide all these weapons that they thought were extinct for a long time ago, and they use them and basically kill almost all of the protagonists, it's unexpected. It's just a really dark turn. And yeah, like I said, it's not as dramatic, but it's still something I took note of. So differences. One main difference I noticed was just language, which I've talked about earlier. The main language of this film the main language of Snowpiercer is English, while the main language of Parasite is Korean. And this really surprised me because, like I said, I thought all of Bong Joon Ho's films were all gonna be in Korean, and like which I didn't have a problem with, but that's what I was expecting. But this film was in English, and it impressed me how it impressed me how like well the dialogue was still written. It still felt real. But Snowpiercer was written in English, and it impressed me because I wasn't expecting the dialogue to be written as well as it was. And it's just it was really, and it was like a good surprise. You know what I mean? So also another difference is the time this takes place. And in Parasite, it takes place in the present, and it's a really a realistic fiction type of film where like this isn't exactly real, but it's presented in a way where it could happen. While in Snowpiercer, this takes place in Snowpiercer it takes place in the very far future, and like it takes place in a time where global warming tr- was trying to be. It takes place in a time where global warming was trying to be fixed, and they released something into the atmosphere called CW7, and they thought it would work, but instead it was like a reverse global warming where it made everything much colder to the point where you couldn't survive, and there was only a few people left. And it's really interesting, and they also do a great example of what I call good world building, with the where it's really intriguing, you know. So another difference I found was the setting. So this in Parasite, the setting is just, you know, a for the most part a poor Korean city. I can't exactly remember where. Sorry for my ignorance, but like it takes place. The main characters live in this poor area where they live in a very small house. They work for jobs that don't give them a lot of money. When and also they work for they and like I said earlier, they were taking advantage of rich people. So a lot of the movie also takes place in this big house. But in Snowpiercer, like I said, it takes place in the future. And remember how I said the last survivors of the remember when I said that basically global warming was reversed, and like the last survivors, there were only like a few survivors. So basically, they all now live on this train that takes them around the world, and like they all survive on there. And the people in the back are basically like the poor people, sorta, and poor people, and they live like terrible lives. They're cramped. They're not fed well. It's overall not good. While the people in the front of the train are like kind of like the rich people, where like which are treated very well, and like they live a great life. They have like wonderful restaurants. It's spacious, which I guess is another similarity because it's another example of poor versus rich. But yeah, I just thought this would be an interesting topic to cover because I really liked comparing these two movies in my head when I was actually watching Snowpiercer. And yeah, I can't wait to check out more. I'm not sure if Bong Joon Ho's made any other movies, but if he has, I will check out it because I'm really interested in him. I think he's a great director, and I like his work. So far, of course, I need to watch his other stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's about it. Thanks.